I don't consider myself a runner. I consider myself a fighter. Hey guys, I know I haven't been doing a lot of races or posting a lot of videos, but you know I would never miss Pier to Peak. Yes, it's that time of year again. So I did the Pier to Peak half marathon for the third year in a row, and going for the Three-Peat. I've had a rough year, dealing with injuries and setbacks and self-doubt, and just trying my best to stay focused, keep the passion going, keep the fitness up, keep the competitive drive. But the issue all year has been my hamstring. And I've talked about this in other videos and stuff I've tried to do to solve this. But the point of the matter is that I don't consider myself a runner. I consider myself a fighter. Okay? And I'll do whatever I can to get to the starting line to be competitive and ready for a race. 6 to 8% grade for most of the race, which is my sweet spot. Not as steep as Pikes Peak, but it's definitely a challenge. It goes from sea level to 4,000 feet elevation. Last year was an epic battle with Jeff. This year promised to be a similar challenge. Jeff, he is one of those competitors, very tough, races all the time, super fit. I would say more serious than I am, maybe. Definitely as obsessed with competition as I am, and progress, and he even went and did like an elevation training block in Colorado before the race. So he definitely took this seriously, and it pumps you up when you have other people that are posting to social media and talking about the race and hyping it up, So I knew it was a big deal, and I knew I had to show up, bring my A game. I'm the defending champion here, and when you establish a winning streak, people would like nothing more than to be the one to knock you off. So you got to be ready for anything. You got a target on your back. And I knew that very well going in. There's a lot of fit people in this race, a lot of fast-looking people. I remember all these guys beforehand. I was talking to Boston qualifiers and all these guys that look really fit. But when it comes down to it, not everyone is good at hills. And so that can be, kind of a... They think they're good, and then they race me or Jeff or whatever, and then they get stopped by 15 minutes, and then they don't, never come back. So I think a lot of this race has new faces every year, people that haven't gotten a taste of the real hill climbers yet. So they come, they show up, they get their ass beat, and then they never come back. But it seems like every year we see new people show up, and you get a few returners. This one guy had strep throat, so he didn't race. He was there as a spectator. The first year, he was the guy who took off ahead, and I caught him. My strategy was different this year because obviously running 30 to 35 miles a week is not ideal. When last year I was running 70, so I'm running half as much. I'm not doing intense workouts in running, mainly easy running because of my hamstring. I'm just doing the bare minimum so that I have some running fitness and some muscle memory, keep up my mechanics, my running a little bit. But all my main workouts have been on the bike. My strategy for this race, though, was to win, not to set a PR, because I didn't think that was possible. And it was a little hotter this year than last year. But Jeff, he's PR'd in everything this year. So for him, he kept talking about time. Let's work together. Let's run fast. Let's break, blah, blah, blah. He was focused so much on that. So I knew his strategy going in was run fast. But my strategy was try to run easy in the beginning when it's flat, the first 3 miles. And also, here's another thing. With my hamstring, in regards to my hamstring, it's irritated more when you're running fast on flat because your stride is lengthened and your cadence is increasing. So those two things, that combination, it pulls in the hamstring more. But if I'm running uphill, your cadence goes down and your stride length goes down and your pace goes down. Like everything, and then it just becomes cardio and less about running efficiency, less about running speed, it's different. It doesn't feel like running to me. I don't know what it is. It just feels like you're just floating. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like you're stair climbing. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like running, and for some reason, that feeling, I can't even put it into words, but I love hill climbing. So, I feel like nobody has an advantage over me. That's the thing. A lot of times, someone will be better than you in something, and it irritates you, right? You try everything you can, and no matter what, like maybe there's that one person who just doesn't even put as much work into it that you do. They just have this special ability that you just never have. I don't know. Like it's like almost you have to accept that you'll never be as good as this person. Like I'm never gonna beat Bernard Lagat or whatever. Like no matter how hard I try, there's like certain things that you see as like a limitation for yourself. But with hill climbing, maybe it's just because I don't even know why I'm good at it, but it just seems like something where no matter how fast the runner is that I'm going up against, I always feel like I have a chance. And that's what really I find exciting with hill climbing races.
Pier, get set, go!
Since I felt like my fitness, at least for running wise, was not going to be on the same level as Jeff's, and definitely my confidence was not on the same level, it did not serve me well to push the pace. I want to keep it chill in the beginning, and then when the hills come, that's my best chance. Then I'll attack. Then I'll go for it, Get a nice warm-up in the beginning. That was my plan. But Jeff had other plans. So we start the race, and usually people clump up behind me because, they know that I won last year or the year before. They know I'm a defending champion, so they're like, okay. A lot of times people will be reluctant to attack the pace if the leader is like a past winner because they go, well, he knows what he's doing. Like, I don't think I can beat him, so I'm just going to stay behind him. Like, they kind of clump up, right? So they're clumping up behind me in the beginning. We're going a little slower than last year. I'm happy about this. It's all working in my strategy. And then like a third of a mile in, Jeff floors it around me and starts dropping me and setting the pace. And then I'm like, shit. I got to go with him, obviously. Especially in the beginning. Because it's flat, so it's easy to pull away. Versus the hill, to get away from me, you have to really like hurt yourself. And probably to your own detriment. So on a flat, I'm capable of running it. I just don't want to hurt my hamstring, even though I did have KT tape on there, which did help. But I had to go with him. And as soon as I went with him, I snapped. Like, I feel like I snapped into like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, I became the monster. And I was like, fuck my race plan. Like, this guy thinks he's going to beat me this year. Like, I was getting all aggro. And then I just took the lead. And right here, this is a clip from a bicycle. I like this clip. This is mile 2. I like this clip because you get a sense of how fast we're actually going. Because later on in the video, you'll see some other clips of us running, but it's from a stationary position. So we're running towards the camera, then away, and we look really slow. But here, when you're running with the camera, or as a biking with the runners, you get a sense of how fast we're actually going up this hill. It's a slight hill, but still. So we're going, I'm setting the pace. This is how it was the whole time. I'm setting the pace, Jeff's behind. Matt, he only hung around until like 2.5 miles. We got to the mission, and then that's where the first like real hill is. He got dropped after that. Matt, just a little announcement here. I don't know if you knew, the race is called Pier to Peak, not Pier to the first resemblance of a hill. Like, come on, buddy, train on the hills. So a funny thing about Matt, so last year, so he won the race in 2014, and ever since then he's had these very obscure results. He got 4th last year, but the year before he was like top 10, but 7th or 8th or whatever. I don't know, it's just very weird. He always shows up, but he doesn't always show up ready to go. And this year, he he told me before the race, he pointed to his heel. He's like, oh, I hope I don't get a blister. He like had a Band-Aid on his heel. And lo and behold, he got a blister. I guess he was bleeding, and at mile 7 or 8, he dropped out because of his blister. Like, seriously, Matt, a blister? Dude, no, I noticed even from like mile 2, as early as 2, my heart rate is already like 178, approaching 180. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't even think I can hold this heart rate the whole time. And so I was kind of concerned, like, I'm probably gonna blow up. But you know, I'm going with it. I'm asserting my dominance. Jeff is still with me, so I'm like, well, screw it. If he's still here, I could better be able to hold this. I haven't dropped him yet. I'm just gonna go with it and see what happens. You know, in the words, I live my life by the words of Ricky Bobby. If you ain't first, you're last. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, it's show up and blow up. You know, win or die. And what's interesting about this race is, except for the beginning, the end, and the middle, most of the race doesn't have a lot of spectators. So a lot of it is very quiet. I wouldn't say tranquil or relaxing, but it's quiet in the sense that all you hear is your breathing, the breathing of anyone around you, and you in grunting, whatever, and then you hear your thoughts, your internal thoughts that driving you forward, and that's it. So you have a lot of time nothing really breaks your concentration. So you can really hone in and focus on you know, the task at hand, and you have this mental battle with yourself, and you have a mental battle with whoever you're running against, because you can hear their breathing, they can hear your breathing. So you kind of get a sense of how tired they are based on how bad they sound. And he sounded like he was sucking wind. So was I, but it made me feel better that he was also. So it kind of gave me confidence to keep pushing it, because I knew, you know what, if I'm going to suffer, it's much better to be the person that's inflicting the pain versus the person who's trying to hold on and just feels like he's getting, you know, thrashed. Like, I'd rather hold the whip than get whipped. Whatever. I don't know. I just made that up. But I really would rather do none of those things. I'm not into that stuff, but whatever. Moving on. One funny random thing was at mile, like, I don't even remember what mile it was. Maybe it was like mile 5 or something. This guy in an e-bike, this old guy in an e-bike, flies by us up this hill and doesn't say anything to us, doesn't cheer. I don't ever see him again. Like, I don't know. There's no houses up there, so that far up, really. And why he's going at like 7 in the morning, but he just flies by us. Like, he wasn't part of the race, wasn't a spectator. Like, I think it was just some old guy flexing in his e-bike. But it just was super random. I don't know. And we get to mile 7.5, which is the halfway point of the race, in my opinion. Not because it's halfway in distance, it's over halfway, but in terms of elevation gain, I think you're at about 1,800 feet or so, and it goes to 4,000, so you're roughly halfway elevation-wise. And in my opinion, that's how I break the race up. The first half and the second half. And the second half is harder. This is where I expect to get the biggest advantage. So that was my plan, to attack at this point. Now, honestly, I didn't think we'd be, when I said I was going to attack at mile 8 in my head, that was not assuming that we'd run the whole first 7 miles hard, which we did. And we were clicking off miles a little bit faster than last year, every single mile. And my heart rate was still like 180 the whole time. I don't know how I was doing it, but so anyway, the last year, at this point, there's an aid station. Right after this photo is right before the turn, and after the turn, last year Jeff took the inside and had someone hand him a bottle from a bike. I took the outside because I didn't have any support, and I went to the aid station. But I lost a few seconds on the turn to go on the outside, and I had to make the effort to catch back up. This year I was prepared, so first of all, I had my girlfriend standing there in case I wanted water. I didn't. I still had my bottle half full, but I took the inside and avoided the aid station. He went to the aid station. So this year I got the advantage but he made a really good effort to catch me right after. It was very seamless. It was impressive. But in his head, he had to surge for a couple seconds to catch me. So every little when you're that close with somebody, every little extra effort you have to exert really matters. It adds up in the end. So I feel like it was as soon as he did that too, I pushed it because right at mile 8 is when I dropped him, and I just noticed because I'd see without even looking back, the breathing of the person behind you becomes fainter. You see the reflection on the side of the mountain, not the reflection. There's shadow, and the shadow wasn't as close as it had been in the rest of the race. So I could sense that he was dropping back. And when you do that, you strike, you attack, you expose the weakness. So then I push in harder, and by mile 10 I was gassed. And he actually did a pretty good job holding the gap at maybe, I'm just guessing, 25 seconds, 20 seconds. Didn't seem that far. Maybe less. And I was worried, but the hardest part of the race was coming up, mile 10. Mile 10 and 11 are the hardest parts in my opinion. They're back-to-back really hilly miles. And I didn't feel good at all, but I had a gap. And last year, this is when I pulled away. So I just tried to put my head down and drive, and I ended up extending my lead more. And then I remember when we got to the top of the hill at right around mile 12, when we get to go, or mile 11, like 11 and a half, and we get to go down the hill for mile 12, my heart rate was 186. I was so ready for a downhill, and I took the downhill. I had maybe like a minute and 20-second lead, minute and a half lead, and at that point I knew I probably had the race in hand as long as I didn't screw up in the last hilly mile. And then the last mile I climbed and I extended the lead a slightly more, and I won by almost 2 minutes, which is good, nice comfortable lead. I set a 1 minute 8-second PR, which turns out to be the number 2 time all time. The best time was set in 2009, I want to say. But I had the number 2 and the number 5 overall best times on that course from whenever the race started in like the 80s or 70s or whatever. But anyway, great race. I was totally spent. I don't know how I PR'd. I think Jeff was even surprised because he's like, dude, I follow you on Strava. You barely run. Like, how did you do this? What are you doing that you're not posting online? Like he was genuinely curious what I was doing, and it's all online. I'm biking, man. You guys know, if you see my Strava workouts, I'm biking a lot. So this goes to show you that when you face adversity, injuries, or whatever else is going on, don't think that you can't train a different way and still achieve results. So I have confidence. My hamstring is not better. It was fine during the race because I rested it and I put KT tape on and I had the race adrenaline going. But you just have to do whatever you can to stay competitive, to stay in there, stay focused. And so Three-Peat, boom. The problem now is a lot of people are talking about coming next year because I've kind of been broadcasting it. I've been throwing out challenges. After the race, as soon as I finish, I'm like dead, right? And the race director is like, oh, here. He hands me a bottle of champagne. He's like, here, you can open this now or later, whatever you want, whenever you want. And I'm just like, I give it back to him. And I'm just like, where's the water? Like, I'm not a NASCAR driver. I don't want to stand on a podium and just spray champagne all over the place. Like, that would be cool, obviously. But I'm not going to wait 30 minutes to do it. They don't have a real podium. And I'm just like, alcohol to me, like, it doesn't really excite me that much. Like, I don't really care. So I don't know. I feel like I could milk this more, the experience and the opportunity. But I don't. I'm more focused on just the racing aspect and not anything else that necessarily could come with it. Even people that I know will ask me, oh, what did you win? Like, thinking I won some, Caribbean cruise or, like, prize money. It's like, I just, you know what, for me, it's the satisfaction and then also just the, like, maybe like the notoriety or the just the pride, really, the reputation, like from that I beat my competitors. Like for me, that's all that I really want.